the things that the recommendations you would have for each of those facilities?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And just to follow up, Mr. Hubbard, I want to make sure I understood your answer correctly. We have a natural disaster. We have a forest fire that takes out the entire fuel on the ground floor, leaves behind all of these trees that now are in the dying process. Before we see a second disaster, before we see a second forest fire, my understanding from your answer, what I heard from you was that the environmental review process would not be sped up. There would not be anything to provide local loggers the opportunity to come in and log those trees quickly and maybe actually get some economic impact to the local community and to the Forest Service and avoid a second disaster. There's nothing in place today that would expedite that permitting?
There are several possibilities, and I'll follow up with a better answer. But we often run into the environmental challenges that stop those activities. And that's still at play, and we haven't eliminated that issue.
Do you have recommendations on risk assessment that would say if we don't come in and log these, not only are we going to not see the economic impact, but we are at risk of another disaster?
With every fire, we assess that risk, and we deal with emergency restoration that follows any fire before it even is controlled. We start, and that lasts for up to a year following to take care of what we think might still pose a risk to communities in particular. But in terms of salvaging what's standing, burned, dead trees, that falls into a different category, and we have to go through our clearance processes.
I mean, I guess I just find your answer unacceptable. I mean, I understand that we all want to be good stewards of the environment, but at a certain point, human lives are at risk. And if we've already had one natural disaster and know specifically that the risk has greatly increased and could see a second natural disaster, why wouldn't we expedite the process and reduce our risk of having a second national disaster?
We would for sure expedite process in and around communities to protect communities. But on large scale, 50,000 acre fires, we would not deal with the entire landscape that way. We would deal with the areas immediately adjacent to those communities, and we would expedite that process.
And expedite it with quick permits and bring in private industry if we needed to?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to call on our second panel.